Protect our queens.
They told me Asia Wilson wasn't marketable, bro.
Do you practice this? Was this spur of the moment?
Is Juju Watkins better than Caitlin Clark? I feel like people have been saying that already.
I mean, there's the argument that she was the best point guard as a rookie last year.
I still think Arike is a better basketball player than Sabrina Ionescu is.
Nafisa Collier is unstoppable right now.
Maybe, just maybe, Nafisa Collier is breathing down her neck. Asia Wilson knows it too. Serious question for you, Martin Sories. The Aces play the Fever tonight, and the Lynx play the Mystics. Who do you think has a better game tonight, Asia Wilson or Nafisa Collier?
Asia Wilson.
Yeah.
But I think Fee needs to bounce back. So maybe it's Fee, but I think the Aces need to make a statement. Fever coming off winning the Commissioner's Cup. I think Asia is going to look to make a statement. That's a big game for the Aces tonight.
No, it is. First, Melissa Smith should be playing tonight as well. So it'll be the first time we get to see her in an Aces uniform as well. Lots to look forward to tonight. I have some problems with the schedule. We'll talk about that in just a second. But what's up, everybody? Welcome back or welcome to the Protect Our Queens podcast presented by Basketball Society. With me, as always, my brother in Christ, my partner in women's basketball crime, Martin Sories. And today we are back. And we're going to talk a little bit about the All-Star weekend coming up. We're going to talk a bit about expansion. I have a gripe with the schedule that we're going to get into in just a bit. And I got a gripe with Sophie Cunningham too. So actually, let's just get right into it. Let's start with the expansion talk. It was announced that the WNBA would be expanding. They are headed now. Oh, wrong one. They are headed back to Cleveland in 2028, back to Detroit in 2029, and they're going to Philadelphia in 2023. And if you remember, or if you don't remember, let me remind you that not too long ago, one Martin Sories talked about the importance of the WNBA going to Philadelphia.
We've got Toronto and Portland coming. Golden State starts next year. Then I start doing my research about stuff. I didn't even need research to see this. It's all over social media. Patrick Mahomes and his wife want to bring a team to Kansas City. Jason Tatum wants to bring a team to St. Louis. Kevin Durant is apparently linked to an ownership group that's interested in bringing a team to Austin, Texas. And then when I start doing my research to find out where are we on Philadelphia, where's the momentum, where's the energy behind Philly, I run into Pittsburgh as a city that is being seriously considered. Apparently, I've got quotes here written from Mark Cuban, of all people, saying, vouching for Pittsburgh as a potential future city for a WNBA team. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, Pittsburgh, nothing against Pittsburgh, nothing against any of those cities. But where is all this progress coming from? All these cities all over the place. I mean, Toronto, for Christ's sakes, Portland. Before we get into it, Ghost, I did not know the Wings picked up Liatu King. I didn't know the Sparks let her go, and I didn't know the Wings picked her up. Did you know that?
No, this is news to me.
I did not see that. That is news to me. That is news to me. That could be interesting.
That could be very, very interesting. I don't remember what I was drinking on that episode, but whatever it was, it got in my nose when you you're disgusted about Pittsburgh. I don't remember what it was. I don't think it was anything hot or anything. But yeah, so Cleveland, Detroit, Philadelphia. Now that the announcement, you would think a lot of people are happy. There's fans in Philadelphia, there's fans in Detroit, there's fans in Cleveland who are excited, except there's one person in Indiana who just had to share her 2 cents on this recent expansion announcement.
Because it is helpful. It's way more helpful. You just get more perks, more opportunities, and so I get that aspect. But I also think that you want to listen to your players too. Like, where do they want to play? Where are they going to get excited to play and draw fans? And I do think that Miami would have been a great one. Like, everyone loves Florida. Nashville is an amazing city. Kansas City, amazing opportunity. There's a huge arena downtown that no one's using. And I think that the Women's Soccer League is showing that, like, people draw, you know, and so I'm not so sure what the thought process is there. But at the end of the day, you also want to make sure that you're not expanding our league too fast. I think that's also another thing, that you don't want teams to totally dominate and then have teams that aren't. And so I just think that it's kind of a hard decision-making team or situation. But man, I don't know how excited people are to be going to Detroit or Cincinnati.
First of all, we're not going to Cincinnati. We're going to Cleveland. So let's just start there. Sophie made some interesting points. I'm not going to say that everything that she said was completely off base. cities. She mentioned Miami, which has had a WNBA team in the past. I'm sure we'll get one again in the future, right? She mentioned Nashville, which, for what it's worth, there is an NFL team in Nashville. There is a hockey team in Nashville. So like there's it's a sports city, right? Here's my issue with what Sophie Cunningham said, though. Sophie Cunningham acts like Detroit and Cleveland are like the worst. She's talking like there's nothing in Detroit. There's nothing in Cleveland, right? I don't know if you know this, Martin, but there are very few cities in the country that have a major sports league or a major sports team in the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL. Detroit is one of those cities.
Right.
Cleveland has a team in all of those cities, or has a team in all of those leagues except for hockey. So it's not like we're going to the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, right? We're not going to the Dakotas. We're not going to like these are cities where there's a lot of people with rich sport histories, so much so that the city of Detroit had to get on Twitter and remind Sophie Cunningham that not too long ago, the record for attendance in the WNBA was in fact set by the Detroit Shock. And in fact, not only was it set by the Detroit Shock, but they were top 5 in attendance 5 years in a row, including leading the WNBA in attendance 3 of those 5 years. So, Sophie Cunningham, respectfully, sister, you play in Indiana. You play in Indianapolis, Indiana. Look, I get it. I think Indianapolis is a great city. My dad goes there sometimes. The NFL Combine is there, right? And the Fever are doing great things in Indianapolis.
Underrated city, I will say.
I have heard
small town, but it's an underrated city.
I have heard lovely things about Indianapolis. But there was a chart on Twitter, and I should have screenshot it because I think we got to kick out this. Someone posted a chart on Twitter where someone surveyed the people across the country and asked the most boring cities in the country. Indianapolis was on that list. You know what cities weren't on that list? Detroit and Cleveland. So I don't know if Sophie Cunningham should be the end-all be-all for where people should and won't want to go watch WNBA basketball games. That's all I'm saying. I just, of all people, to talk about where people don't want to go, I just don't think Sophie Cunningham should have been the one to say that. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know your history with the Detroit thing. Like fans, diehard fans want those cities, especially the ones that had like those storied and successful franchises like the Detroit Shock. They want their teams back. They want them coming back. Charlotte wants their team back.
They should get their team back.
There are cities that Houston wants their team back. So Detroit is one of those cities, and I think that is cool. On the topic of like expanding too fast or growing too fast, I think that's a valid thing to maybe be concerned about, mainly because of the money. And I know that like the WNBA is going into uncharted territory here as far as attention and revenue. And obviously they're going into a phase where they have to figure out the CBA. And the money is going to dictate a lot of these things going forward. Yeah. I think the talent, what she said about like teams being too dominant and other teams, Golden State is disproving that. Yeah. The talent is fine as far as like expanding, and there's more really good talent that's going to be coming in the next 5 to 10 years, as I've said and spoken on many times before. So I think from that standpoint, it'll be fine, but it's the money that they have to figure out. The salaries, we still are talking about rosters, like expanding the roster size. So that's going to be a money thing too. The biggest thing here is just going to be the money, but I think where we are, I think they'll be okay. I'm no expert in this area, so I'm not going to speak too much in depth on it, but based on the attention and everything that's happening now over the next few years, they're going into a territory where I think they'll be able to make it work, and it'll make more sense to have more teams in different cities in more areas. I think the timing for expansion is probably just right.
So it's interesting. I would say the answer to this question is yes and no. Right. I think in the context of the press conference that Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the league, did a year or two ago talking about expansion. This is exactly what she wanted. She wanted to get to 18 teams by 2030. We have 18 teams by 2030. So I think in that regard, this is right on line with what she was looking for. So in that regard, I would say no. However, there are some things internally with the current setup of the league that need to be adjusted that I think will be worked on. I went on Threads yesterday and I just put some of my thoughts out. I think there are 4 things that are going to be absolute non-negotiables in the CBA negotiations that are coming up, which is why I've been talking to you off the show about how I think it's possible we might not see WNBA basketball in 2026.
Totally possible.
Very, very possible.
Totally possible.
The first thing is you have to extend the season, right? Like if we're going to go up to, we are at 44 games this year. If the goal is to get to 48, 52, et cetera, you can't play that many games in the same amount of time. That's why we're seeing an uptick in injuries so far this season. Like the Dallas Wings are playing a basketball game today with 7 players. Half of their roster is either out or questionable. Tara McCowan is away from the team right now. So I think she's still in Europe handling those responsibilities there. But like that's an issue that has to be addressed, right? It's no different than the NFL, for example, right? When the NFL went from a 16-week season to a 17-game season, they took a week away from the preseason and they started the season a week early so that everything can still fit in the same amount of time and it makes sense. The WNBA is going to have to look to do that. We're going to need to expand the rosters, as you mentioned. There are way too many first-round picks being waived, not actually given an opportunity to start and play meaningful minutes, regular season games for the teams that are drafting them. They're not even actually being given a good opportunity to get fully adjusted because, as we talked about on the show before, they go from playing in a Final Four game one week to the very next week their name is being called. And it's not even a full week. It's like 5 or 6 days. Like they don't have enough time to adjust all the way. We've talked about revenue shares, right? I think it's still kind of crazy that these players aren't getting a percentage of the money that the league is making from the jerseys that have their names on them. I think that is absolutely a fair request to have. And the last thing I mentioned is just, and we know this is going to be the case, there's going to be increased salaries, right? The base rookie salary is going to go up. The salary cap is going to go up. And, the various salary increments are going to go up. But the other reason why I think the WNBA expansion is moving a bit too fast is because we had a Commissioner's Cup championship game on Tuesday. The Lynx and the Fever played basketball. There's only 2 games on Tuesday. Today's Thursday. There are 13 teams in the league. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of them are playing games today. There's there's 2 games at 7, a game at 7:30, and 2 games at 8 o'clock. When we talk about which teams get more viewers, when we talk about which teams get more ratings on their games, when the entire league is playing basketball on the same day at the same time, that matters because not every city gets access to the same games. If I'm not mistaken, none of these games are going to be on national TV. I think the Aces and the Fever game is going to be on Amazon Prime. So the only way that you're going to see the other 8 teams playing basketball today is if you have League Pass, right? So, and look, I understand that in some scenarios, right, some teams are going to draw better than others, right? It's why people talk about the Cowboys and the Lakers and the Yankees all the time. I get it. But you can't tell me that people don't want to watch the Lynx play basketball today and see how they can bounce back from Tuesday. You can't tell me that people don't want to watch what I think would probably be a good game between the Dream and the Storm. You can't tell me people don't want to watch Satu's first game back in Dallas tonight at 8 o'clock on national TV. You just can't tell me that. And so scheduling wise, not just where the games are placed, but who's playing when, that matters. And it's a problem. You can have 30 teams in the league if you want. If they're all playing on the same day and we as consumers of the product don't have an opportunity to watch as many of these teams and as many of these players as possible, then what's the point of having 30 teams in the league if realistically I can only watch 4 or 5 of them consistently throughout the course of the season? There's a lot of things that need to be figured out. And so I'm excited that the league is growing. I don't want to speak for you, Martin, but I believe that you are also excited that the league is growing. And a lot of fans and players are excited that the league is growing. But to Satu Sabali's point the other day, we got to make sure that the players and the teams currently in the league are being treated fairly, are being compensated adequately, and are getting their just due in a lot of different areas and not just focus on, oh, we got to get these new teams up and running. Bro, there's going to be 5 expansion drafts in the next 6 years.
Wow.
So you go from last year's expansion draft. We're going to have an expansion draft this year because we've got Toronto and Portland, and then there's going to be an expansion draft in 28, 29, and 30. 5 in the over a 6 year. That's a lot of change.
Yeah,
it's great, but it makes the question valid of whether or not the league is expanding too fast. And when you think about some of the things that they need to work on, I would say no. That's not a ridiculous thing to kind of sit back and say, oh, maybe we are moving a bit too fast here.
Yeah, they have things to figure out. That's really well said. They've got to figure those things out. And why the question is also valid is because it feels like they're going to have to figure it out on the fly as things are growing, as things are expanding. And that's why I said I feel like the timing is right. I'm more pro expansion, even in the midst of all the issues and things that they have to figure out. I would rather them figure it out on the fly, because they do have to get ready for the influx of talent that's coming in, the influx of fans and interest that's coming into the league. They have to try to capitalize on that. So I do give Kathy credit for seeing her vision through and being somewhat aggressive and just proactive in taking advantage of this opportunity that is before them, with Caitlin, with Angel, with Juju coming in, with just the rise of the popularity and the interest in the league. I think the timing is right. It might feel a little bit fast, but I think the timing, I think there's no better time to do it. You've got to do it now. And the next 5 years, by 2030, to everything you just said, the league is going to look very different, and they are going to have so many things to figure out, from access to rosters to money. There's a lot to figure out, but I am excited about it, because mainly just from a basketball standpoint, I just think there's so much talent coming in. And if we only had 8 teams to place them, I mean, it might make it a little more interesting, because it would make every team would be really good. I even posed to you at one point recently that I feel like every team is going to have like a really good young core in the next few years. Every team is going to have a legit like star duo or young core or big three. Like, it feels like just because there's so much talent, but with the expansion, there might be a little more diversity. But I overall, I think this is the right time. This is the right way to go.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, look, right now there's 13 teams in the league, so there's 156 players rostered right now, 12 teams, 12 players per team. By 2030, we'll be up to 216. So yes, I get it. There's 60 more players that'll be in the league. But just going back to the roster expansion part for just a second, you have to think about this as well. You got a player like Odyssey Sims, who has been recycled through hardship contracts in 7 days the last 2 years. She got released by the Sparks the other day because they just don't have enough spots to hold a player like her, who isn't just a vet, but was benefiting them while they were on the road. Like, she was doing good for them, and now she doesn't have a home, right? You think about a player like Julie Van Loo, who was playing pretty well for the Valkyries so far this season. She leaves Eurobasket to come home early, and she ends up getting cut. Now, apparently there's a bit of discrepancies about how exactly that happened, but the fact of the matter is she was playing well for them, and she got waived at the end of the day. Cheyenne Sellers was a big one, and after the draft, she got waived, picked up by the Dream, got waived again. So, like, we're seeing this so much, and all I've ever said, bro, is if we just get 2 more roster spots on these teams, just go from 12 to 14, not only does it allow more players to have an opportunity to make a roster, but it allows teams to make better decisions. Absolutely. But it allows teams to make better decisions about who's on that roster. There's a lot of talent in this league, not just right now, but as you said, on the way, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, that would deserve to make a roster. And so while I appreciate the fact that there are going to be, 3 more opportunities over the next couple of years for these new young players coming in to make a roster, I'm still thinking about the fact that what does that mean for even some of these other players who should probably be on the roster right now who aren't? How do they fit into all this? How do they factor into all this as well? It's great that those young players are going to have a spot to play, but will these players right now who don't have a place to play, will they have an opportunity to make a roster with all of this fluctuation? I don't think the talent will be diluted, because to your point, there's going to be so much talent. Like, if anything, having more teams is better. You're going to have more competitive matchups. You're going to have more competitive games. You're going to have more teams being able to compete for a championship. You might still have your top 2 or 3, but you'll have more situations like the Valkyries who come out of nowhere, or like the Mercury who just kind of get it going and they're hot and things of that nature. Like, I think it's a really, really, really good thing that we're expanding. I just think there's some housekeeping things that need to be addressed as well.
Yeah, and just from a fan standpoint, I think we're seeing in Golden State where the fans are ready, especially in those cities where they have not just an NBA team, but a successful team. The last point here on the Philadelphia thing, which, as I had said in that clip, and I had said Philly was mandatory. This is why people in Philly always are so bitter and mad and feeling like we overlook them. They have the underdog mentality, and it's like, get them a WNBA team. But the main thing about Philly, I'm saying, is like, in those cities where the NBA team is letting the city down, look at what the Liberty have done for the New York fan base. You know, the Knicks are back, but they ain't winning a championship yet. The Liberty did that.
Nets are nowhere to be found.
Look at these cities where their NBA teams are letting them down, letting fans down. Give them a new sense and new source of basketball energy that they can tap into and be excited about. And Philadelphia is now that city. I can see Philly coming out loud and proud for that WNBA franchise. And you mess around and get you a Hannah Hidalgo or a big time name, a big time star to be the face of that franchise, Philadelphia will be up for that WNBA team. I wholeheartedly believe that.
And not only that, think about what it would be like if you're now adding another city. I think back to like in DC, we had the Caps win the Stanley Cup, and then the Nationals won the World Series, and then the Mystics won the WNBA championship in like an 8-month time. Like, think about that. You're talking about a city in like Detroit where not saying the Pistons are going to win a championship, but like, you're bringing more opportunity for people to want to celebrate success in that city. Like, you have to also too, like, let's not act like there's not a lot of talented basketball players and basketball connections to come out of the city of Detroit as well.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This isn't just
it ain't just Motown.
It's not just like, there's talent out there, bro. There's a lot of talent out there. If you are just now joining us, we are wrapping up our conversation talking about WNBA expansion. We're going to switch gears now a bit and look to All-Star Weekend. The All-Star rosters were announced. As you can see there, Caitlin Clark and Nafisa Collier are captains of their respective teams. You also have Aaliyah Boston, Paige Beckers, who's the only rookie starter this year, Alicia Gray, Sabrina Ionescu, Neko Gwumake, Satu Sabali, Brianna Stewart, and of course, Asia Wilson. There was a lot of discourse on the interwebs because the voting was revealed for the respective players and where they ranked. Caitlin Clark was ranked number 1 by the fans as a guard. She was ranked number 2 by the media as a guard, and she was ranked 9th amongst guards by players. Now, I just want to make something perfectly clear. If you didn't vote for All-Star, here's how it worked. When you went onto the website, you picked 4 players, and that was it for guards. And I think you picked 6 forwards, and then that was it. So Caitlin Clark being ranked 9th doesn't actually mean that players sat here and listed 8 players above her. What it means is there were enough players in the league who didn't put her in the top 4 for their ballot, where it accumulated to her falling down to 9th. Now, I know there are a lot of people in the Caitlin Clark Coalition who don't particularly care about the semantics of that. But here on Protect Our Queens, we like to make the important distinctions before jumping into important conversations. So, Martin Soares, I will ask you, based on the way this season has gone specifically, do you think it was outrageous, to use the word that's been used a lot on Twitter, or what do you think it was unfair for Caitlin to be ranked 9th amongst guards this season?
No, I think and I'm glad you explained that, because it helps to make sense for anybody who's trying to make sense of that, who might feel like it doesn't make sense or whatever. If enough players didn't rank Caitlin as a top 4 guard in the league, and I had put this on Threads, I do feel like if you think from a player's standpoint, it's different from the fans, it's different from the media. The players themselves are going to acknowledge honestly from their basketball opinion who are the top guards this season. I think Caitlin's injuries, missing time, she's only played like 9 games this season, combined with, just her natural deficiencies, mainly on defense. I think those things combined could understandably have a player not saying, oh yeah, she's a top, she's one of the top guards in the league this season. right now. Alicia Gray was number 1 ranked by the players as in terms of guards this season. She was number 1. And that makes sense because Alicia Gray has been in the MVP conversation. She's been playing better basketball and has been more healthy than Caitlin Clark. So when you think about it from that standpoint, if you think from a player's perspective, I just have a hard time just running right to the assumption of jealousy and they hate her and all I'm like, I just think that's a lazy argument to just think that just because everyone didn't have her as the top guard or a top 3 guard in the league, that automatically means that they have something against her. I think when it comes to players, like maybe there's some internal animosity, but I just find it really hard to believe that multiple players see her name and because of their disdain or hate for her, they're like, oh no, not Caitlin. No, we don't like her. I don't think players operate that way. Players respect other great players. And I think players would be more likely to show love and respect for what Alicia Gray is doing this season, playing the best basketball of her career, MVP level type of play so far this season, as opposed to just bowing down to the popularity throne of Caitlin Clark and just conceding to something that they don't really believe, which is that she's one of the top guards in the league right now. And I just think her missing time has the most to do with that.
Yeah, she's missed half their games. Her shooting splits are down. She's shooting 29% from 3. She's shooting 39% from the field. She leads the league in turnovers. If we're just talking about this season, now, like there are people out here who are like, oh, well, Natasha Cloud hasn't been playing better than Caitlin Clark this season, and they want to bring up stats. And what I would say to that is, if you want to bring up the stats argument, like they have 2 completely different roles. They're 2 completely different players. Natasha Cloud's been playing good basketball this year. But to go back to your point about the whole jealousy thing, I just think it's really lazy at this point in the year of our Lord 2025 to continue to fall back on the everyone hates Caitlin Clark thing as soon as she's not ranked 1 or 2 in something that you want her to be ranked 1 or 2. Like, she's a captain. She's a starter. She made the team. Not only is she a captain, a starter, made the team, she got the most fan votes of anyone else. This is the greed that God was talking about in the Bible. Like, relax, bro. Like, it's okay that there are people who don't share the same opinions as you. And the last thing I'll say on it is it's interesting to me how when players in the WNBA...
She deserves to be an all-star, though, by the way.
She does.
She deserves to be an all-star.
I agree.
Still, yeah.
The last thing I'll say on it, and it's always funny to me, is when players in the WNBA don't rate Caitlin Clark fairly or in the favor of what fans think they should be ranked, it's their hating. But the NFL does a top 100 every year that players vote on, and no one gets like super pissed if there's a player ranked too high or too low, because we all acknowledge, well, that's what the players believe. They're playing these guys, so clearly they would have a better pulse on these things than we do. If we ask someone, if an ex-NBA player says, oh, well, that guy's better than that guy, no one bats an eye because, like, oh, well, he should know what he's talking about. He's played against both. I just don't understand how in men's sports leagues we can see these things happen and not bat an eye. But when it happens to Caitlin Clark, the world's falling down and the sky is falling. I just that will always shock and baffle me. And again, like, at this point, if you think people hate Caitlin Clark, I feel like that's the same as like the GOAT debate at this point. Like, if you don't think LeBron James is the GOAT at this point in his career, there's nothing he can do at this point or anyone can tell you that would change your mind. And clearly, if you think there are people out here who hate Caitlin Clark just because she's Caitlin Clark, there's clearly nothing that anyone can say or do that would change your mind. Just keep that over there so that we can have honest basketball conversations over here, because it's really annoying.
Yeah, even someone and a tweet came from Dick Vitale, and I assumed that someone tweeted it for him. So when I replied to it, I said, hey, whoever this is behind this keyboard, because I don't think it's Dick Vitale tweeting from bed with his 2 fingers. I'm sure someone tweeted that for him. Yeah. But he even added to the whole, Caitlin Clark ranked 9th as a guard. Like, these players, the hate and the jealousy just continues. These women hate her. Man, that is just so tired at this point. It's really tired. I don't think that's I don't think that is any clear evidence as to players being jealous of her or hating her. I just don't. And like I've said before, just because she is the most popular and maybe the most exciting player, mainly because of the deep threes, not because of anything else really, mainly because she can shoot from the logo. That's the draw. That's what makes her exciting, which is great. I mean, it's fine to say if you don't think she's the best player in the league or the best player you've ever seen, which is what I think. Like, she's not the best player I've ever seen.
No.
That doesn't mean that you just hate her or feel some type of way about her. A lot of us out here are just giving our genuine basketball opinion about it. And, just because she may be something that you feel like is great, it's okay. Like, it's okay. We can have honest basketball conversations about it and not feel like there's an agenda happening just because everyone's not acting like Caitlin is the best thing ever.
That's a good point. Let's segue now. Let's talk a little bit about who's going to be going to what team. As I mentioned, Caitlin Clark is a captain. Nafisa Collier is a captain, and I'm looking at like the starter pool, obviously who they'll pick from first, and I would imagine obviously that Aaliyah Boston's going to end up on Caitlin Clark's team. And
if she has her first pick should be AB, yeah.
I said to you that I have a sneaky suspicion that Nafisa will do what she can to get her fellow UConn homies Paige and Breanna Stewart on her team as well. There's some people out here who think that Nafisa might draft A'ja Wilson though. Do you think she'll do that?
That's interesting. So I'm looking at it like where I think Fee's pick. Because again, I think it's fair to assume Caitlin will and should pick AB as her first pick. Fee's first pick is going to be really interesting. I'm looking between A'ja would be interesting. Stewie is her unrivaled sister, so I feel I could end UConn. So I could see Stewie being probably more likely than A'ja.
She did lose to Stewie in the WNBA Finals last season.
She did. There is that, but they did Unrivaled together after. Right. They have a mutual thing where they probably have love and respect. So I could see her going Stewie. There's not like a rivalry or animosity there,
for sure.
But that's noted. What if Fee sticking? I mean, the other UConn option and almost the anti-Caitlin option. What if Fee goes with Paige? If Fee picks Paige first, that's not just a UConn thing. That's I want Paige on my side. I don't want Paige playing with Caitlin. I want to kind of ruffle some feathers here. The Paige versus Caitlin thing if they're on opposite teams, they didn't get to play against each other, last week. Hopefully Caitlin's healthy enough to play in this game, especially since this is in Indianapolis.
I think she'll
need her to be good enough to play, to be healthy enough to play in this game. Yeah. But that could be the first time we see Caitlin against Paige in the pros so far, because they didn't get to match up last week. So if Fee goes with Paige first, I think that could make it really interesting.
I agree. That would make it interesting. I did tell you off to the side, I would be a bit surprised if Caitlin drafted Paige to her team. I just don't.
That would surprise you, huh?
A little bit, yeah. I just don't see that happening.
Why though? Why not? Do you think it's like what? You think Caitlin? You think it's like a competition thing? You think she wouldn't? I mean, what is it about that would surprise you?
Okay. Just looking at the other, so there's Paige, there's Alicia Gray, and there's Sabrina Ionescu. Mm-hmm. These are the other. So
more likely she goes with Sabrina. That's like her mentor.
I would say it's more likely that she goes with Sabrina for that reason. But Paige specifically, I just feel like Caitlin, and I feel like Caitlin would rather play opposite Paige than play with Paige, if it's her decision, right? I'll be honest, last year I thought that, obviously last year they did the Team USA versus the All-Star team because it was the Olympic year, but if it were standard practice, I think Caitlin would have been a captain last year as well. I don't know if Caitlin would have drafted Angel to her team last year for similar reasons. Now, I'm not saying that Caitlin wants to stir the pot or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I just think that maybe they were in the same recruiting class out of high school. They've played a bunch of games against each other. I think there's a healthy competition there that in the All-Star game, what I will give the WNBA credit for is it's a little bit more competitive than the NBA All-Star game is. And I think Caitlin would have rather competed against Paige than competed alongside Paige, especially in Indy. They're going to be in Indiana for the All-Star weekend. So that's why it's not any I don't have like any like super crazy conspiracy theory about it at all. I just think that I just wouldn't have seen that happening. Just with the connections, like Caitlin strikes me as someone who's going to draft based on connections. So you have to assume Aaliyah Boston's going to be the first pick. And to your point, Sabrina's like kind of her mentor. Like you would have to assume that Sabrina would be the next pick after that.
Yeah,
I'm really interested to see though who drafts Nneka and who drafts Satu.
So I think Caitlin is more likely to go with Satu, and not just because of this, but like we've seen publicly, Satu has praised Caitlin on podcasts and in public forums. So I don't know if they're like cool or friends or whatever, but Satu has been very pro Caitlin, like very publicly. So whether or not Caitlin knows that or acknowledges that, I don't know, but like maybe that plays a factor in maybe Caitlin playing like not favorites, but like who has been cool with, like, because even Stewie and Caitlin, they had that moment during that Liberty game where Caitlin hits the deep three over Stewie and they're both laughing, running back on, Stewie kind of hits her like good shot, so there's no there's no like anything there. So it is going to be interesting. I feel like Caitlin and Asia had a nice little moment at All-Star last year. So I think maybe Caitlin is more likely to go with Asia. I could see Fee more likely going with Nneka as like, an ambassador of the league. I think Fee could be a little like, I could just see her being more on Fee's side.
Yeah.
Caitlin and also with Satu, I think Caitlin should be looking to pick up the players who are physical and enforcers and defender, like, be smart as a GM, Caitlin, and pick up the players who can support you the best, like, and I mean, all of these players are studs, obviously, but I could see her maybe going big, maybe going defense, going athleticism, building the kind of team that she would want around her. So I could see Caitlin going Asia or Stewie. Definitely more likely, I think she goes with Sabrina. And Paige should be interesting, man. I could see it going either way. I could, because I think Caitlin and Paige, I don't think they're like best friends, but I think they're cool. I think they're cordial. I feel like they're cool. Yeah. And I think Caitlin might even look to like capitalize on the moment of people getting to like see them together. Maybe she would want to hoop with her.
I feel like Nafisa is more likely to end up with Paige and Alicia Gray.
That sounds right to me. That sounds right. I could see Satu and
over there. It feels right. And I think, again, like for the synergy thing, like if Caitlin goes with Aaliyah Boston and Sabrina, then I feel like she would probably take Satu as well, because Sabrina and Satu played at Oregon together, so she'd probably want to keep it together. Yeah, there's a lot of interconnectivity here.
But even as you say that, it's like, where is like you? We think AB will be Caitlin's first pick, maybe Sabrina next. Where's Asia going? If Asia falls that much, Fee is going to take Asia.
Well, I think I think AB is first, and I think if Paige is going to be on Nafisa's team, she's going to pick Paige first. So I would imagine if Caitlin doesn't take Asia with the next pick, then Asia's going to end up on Nafisa's.
That should be Fee's next pick.
That should be Fee's,
objectively speaking.
Interesting. But again,
Asia or Stewie, the Asia Stewie thing is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Caitlin will probably pick Breanna Stewart with her second pick.
You think so?
I think so. I think she'll go Aaliyah Boston, Breanna Stewart. She'll go get Sabrina, and then she'll get Satu. I think that'll be the order of the picks. I wonder if there's I have a problem. I should call the number. I wonder if there's a parlay on FanDuel. I can predict the order of the.
It might be. Yeah. If there is, let me know. I
should call the number. I might have a problem.
Last thing I'll say quickly though about this, because I mentioned this to you at one point when we were talking about All-Star. This needs to go really well for the WNBA. The WNBA needs this All-Star weekend to go really well, because it's Indianapolis. It's going to be the Caitlin show. And with all the controversy and nastiness and narratives that are coming out of Indiana and that fan base, Sophie Cunningham keeps stirring things up. There's kind of this like almost dark cloud hanging around the Indiana Fever fan base and franchise. And whether it's warranted or not, it's just so much. There's a lot of energy coming out of there, and it's not always the best energy. And so I feel like this is a major moment for the league, where they need, not that this is going to turn into the Malice at the Palace or become some toxic, environment or something, but they need it to be highly positive, highly collaborative. It's a chance for not only that, Marcus, when you think about the nature of All-Star Weekend, especially on the men's side, it's a recruiting period. So for Indiana, for the Fever, for Caitlin, it's a chance to maybe get in some people's ear about like, hey, would you want to be part of this?
No.
And for them, for Indiana, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they need to make this a welcoming atmosphere and environment for the sake of recruiting even going forward. And that would be good for the league too, because the league wants Indiana and Caitlin to be doing well.
I don't think there are enough bells or whistles in the universe to distract players from the fact that Dewana Bonner said she no longer wants to be in Indiana. I don't think.
No, that's a bad look. And again,
I do not.
That's what I'm saying, though. No, it's not bells and whistles, bro. It's just, listen, she decided to go there initially. Like, people are going to want to go, somebody's going to want to play with Caitlin. Somebody's going to want to go there, but to your point, that's not a great look.
Yeah.
That's not the Dewana thing is not a great look, but, listen, if I'm a shooter, or if I'm a bit if I'm a certain kind of player, right?
There are benefits.
It makes it more attractive,
Absolutely. Yeah. Last thing I'll say is I just hope, and I hope me saying this doesn't put it into the atmosphere for it to happen. I just hope that no matter who wins what, we're not having rigged conversations by the end of the weekend.
We're not having what conversations?
Rigged conversations by the end of the weekend. If Indiana, if their skills challenge team doesn't win, or if they don't win the 3-point contest, or if Caitlin's team loses, or she doesn't get in, I don't want to have.
Well, listen, what the main thing that could set it off and do what I'm talking about is if during the game someone pushes Caitlin to the ground. Can you imagine what that would do in Indianapolis?
Let it be Paige. Just let it be Paige. Just let it be. I don't.
God.
Listen to me. Just don't let it be any one of my melanated queen. I don't care. If it happens, let Stewie push her for all I care.
It's a more white on white crime.
Just don't let it be Nafisa. Don't let it be Alicia Gray. It wouldn't be Nneka, but don't let it be Nneka. Don't let it be. Please don't let it be Kiki. And for the love of all things good and holy, do not let it be Angel Reese. I swear to you now, if I see Angel Reese push Caitlin Clark, I might jump off a cliff.
Yeah,
I don't want to witness the firestorm that's gonna start on Twitter. Oh God.
Yeah, no, we see you guys in the comments in here. Like, it's not perpetuating a narrative. I know what you're saying. Like, there's all kinds of people like adding to the discourse and all that. I'm not saying it's all Indianapolis. I'm not saying that, but like it's pretty obvious, right? Like, anytime something happens with Caitlin in Indiana, there have been more stories about fans heckling people either in person or online. The Caitlin Clark Coalition, as you call them, that's a real thing. So Ghost, I don't care if you think this won't age well. This is a legit thing. I mean, if you're watching the league, if you're paying attention, this is a real thing. I'm not saying that Indianapolis is this dangerous place of crazy people and all. I'm not going extra. I'm just pointing out what is an obvious observation so far of what players have experienced, of what we're all seeing happen in regards to people trying to defend Caitlin and bash other players and stuff. It's a real thing. It's become almost semi-toxic. I'm not saying it's toxic. I'm just saying the events, even just this season, the Sophie Cunningham, incident, like it's become something where I just think the league really should want this to be a positive experience for everybody. That's all I'm saying.
And I think they'll do what they absolutely can to make sure. And the All-Star Weekend, for the most part,
not about Twitter people, Ghost. I'm not just talking about Twitter people. At the games, have you been watching at the actual games? Like, multiple incidents, players last year, this year. It's not a narrative. I'm not pushing a narrative. These
are things that
happening. I'm observing what's happening.
No, I mean, during the Sun series last season, after Dejanay got Caitlin in the eye on accident, the next game in Connecticut, people showed up with like massive
the evidence. Go look up what Alyssa Thomas said after the game last year. Like you're typing in all caps. You're not doing anything. You're not pushing me off this. It's a clear observation. The evidence is all over the internet. You go and look it up. Go look up Alyssa Thomas. Last year after the game, she was emotional, damn near crying. Like that was
again,
tough. I'm not saying that this is some crazy, like, I'm just there have been incidents, players have responded, it's been a thing. So that's just like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to make that observation.
Thank you guys.
And by the way, I'm not a journalist. I'm actually not. I'm a basketball trainer. I'm a podcaster. I used to write articles. My profession is not journalism. So if you want to know more about me, hit me up on Instagram. I'll shoot you my bio. What are you talking about?
It's always a pleasure to talk women's basketball with Martin Sories, no matter what narratives are or are not being pushed. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe to Basketball Society on YouTube so you don't miss any future episodes of Protect Our Queens or any of the awesome basketball content on the channel. When you're done there, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or Threads now. Actually, we are active on Threads now. You can find us there as well. And as always, thank you guys for watching. So for my guy, Martin Sories of Basketball Society, this is Marcus of the Protect Our Queens podcast signing off. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, you enjoy yourselves some women's basketball.